I think we're doing a Jet podcast.
Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage. I'm joined by Ralph Sharega, who's up in, I guess, Boston, Mass. Right, Ralph?
Well, I'm in Belmont today, which is
Oh, he's in
close enough.
Belmont,
Yeah,
Mass. And Ray
yeah.
Clifford.
I have three different homes up here.
There you go. Ray Clifford, Marysville, Ohio. Guys, this is the first time we've been back together again. I sense.
Yeah. How long has it been?
It's been a while, but I just got to say one thing. We're going to get into. Ralph has a trivia question, but in my position, what I do a lot of traveling on the road, and I basically listen to usually two things, either business stations and podcasts or like jet stuff. And I want to tell you, since this whole Aaron Rodgers thing started, I cannot listen to anything on the radio anymore. Ralph, I was telling Ray, some of these guys on the radio, it got to the point with Aaron Rodgers where they're trying to figure out the first playoff game at MetLife. Are they going to have it on a Saturday night? I've never seen anything like it. It's just been incredible. You know, they have him in the playoff, they have him in the AFC Championship game already. So we're going to get into it. But Ralph, how you doing? And I want to find out, Ray, how you doing? How you doing, Ralph?
I am doing great. It's been a nice vacation from the podcast. So now we're all very energetic, and this is our time of the year. It's the only time that you really feel good about the Jets is they're after the draft.
Ray, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm like Ralph. I'm not missing that we didn't do the podcast because it seemed like the only Jets news for the last month has been the Aaron Rodgers fiasco it's turning into, and I didn't want to talk about that again and again. So, and nice weather. So I'm really enjoying this late winter.
Yeah, I love global warming. I'm a big fan.
Can't get enough of that in the winter.
Ralph, Ray's a huge hockey fan. I know they just fired the coach the other day.
Columbus?
The Columbus, what's their name, Ralph? Ray?
Blue Jackets.
Blue Jackets.
Columbus Blue Jackets. So
who was their coach?
Brad Larson. He was the assistant to Torts.
Right. It's too bad they let Torts go. He's a lot of fun.
I love Torts. He was the best. It was like having his press conferences reminded me of Parcells in some way.
I can never figure out why Johnny Gaudreau went to that team.
Surprised us too.
Really strange. I thought the Islanders had a shot at him, but God, nobody goes to them.
They didn't. Philly didn't even make a play for him. That kind of shocked me.
And by the way, my Rangers are up 2-0, which I'm happy about. And a little congratulations got to go to Quinnipiac to win the NCAA college hockey title. And
especially the way they won it.
Yeah. I guess they beat Minnesota. My BU Terriers lost in the semifinals to Minnesota, but
they haven't been the same since Herb Wakabayashi graduated.
Right. Anyway,
nobody.
We're here for the New York Jets. We bleed green on this show. So, Ralph, you have a draft trivia question?
Yeah. It's like a two-parter. The first one you can just throw out a number. Since the common draft started in '67, how many times do you think the Jets have drafted in the top 5? Just throw out a number, because that's just the pre.
What was the first year again?
67. Yeah.
I'll say 5.
We're gonna do it on right now.
I didn't hear you, Marty. What?
I'll say 5 times.
All right, Ray. 5 times in the top 5, really? Okay.
I think they've done that in the last 7 years.
Well, I know they had the number 6 pick like for 10 times. It seemed
so yeah, they've had the number 6, and I'm not even counting those. All right, Ray, what do you say? Just give me a quick. Then I'll give you the actual question.
Let's go with a nice even 14. That's
it. Ray got it. 14.
Ray got it.
Yeah. All right, so Ray's the man
on the trivia.
Yeah. So the actual question is: of those 14, one school they drafted 4 out of the same school. Can you name the 4 players and the school they came from?
That I can't do, but I'm just going to say it's either Alabama or Penn State. I'll say Alabama.
No, you can't count Namath. He was before the '67 draft.
Oh, we're doing it all now. I'm going with USC.
That's right. Ray's
Ray's
got it right.
amazing.
All right. So
Wow.
between now and the end of the podcast, figure out the four
Trying to figure
players.
too.
All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna get right into Aaron Rodgers right now. But before we do, I have a thinking question. It's not really trivia, but think about it, because I don't know what the final answer is. What NFL head coaches in the history have at one time or another wore a New York Jets or Titans uniform as a player? How many Jets
Oh my
players
God.
have become head coaches? I've come up with
Wow.
3. Think about it though. And we'll take-
That's quite a question. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
more a Ralph question because you.
No, no.
I didn't even exist when the Titans were.
Right. Let me just get into this right away. I had texted you guys an article by Brian Costello. I don't know if you had
Yeah.
time to read it.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
All right. So Aaron Rodgers, this thing has been going on, it seems like, for decades. But it seems to be that the sticking point, as we know, the Jets traded and they got a second round pick. And supposedly the trade is one of those picks plus, and this is with the sticking point, the 2024, the Jets want to make it a conditional first round pick and the Packers don't. Okay. And that's according to Brian Costello of the New York Post. I want to know your feelings. My feelings is that I think this trade's going to go through, and I think the Jets are holding the cards. That's my feeling after the article. Ralph, what's your feeling?
Yeah, I agree. For a while, but then I realized that the Packers need to get this done during the draft. I personally don't want them to get it done before, or I want the Jets to keep those 2 picks and let them work at 2024 and 2025, which I don't think the Packer fans would be very happy about. So I agree with you, and I think it will become conditional. I don't know if the Jets are asking for something back in 2025 if Rodgers only plays 1 year. He didn't mention anything about that in the article. I hope they do get something, but we'll see about that.
Ray, what's your thoughts?
I kind of go back and forth, but I do think it'll get done at this point. But only if, like you say, it's conditional. If they don't, there's no way we can give up a first rounder next year. If we don't know if he's going to play. I mean, we aren't, especially because if he doesn't, then we're really hamstrung because we don't have a first rounder and we don't have a quarterback. But so there's no way they can do that without it being a conditional pick. And if he fulfills and get us, I would imagine the condition would be get us to a Super Bowl would be a first rounder, not even win it necessarily, just get us there. If he does that, I guess people have to put up with the fact that he might not come back. But hey, you got right. A great ride out of it. But
I think it'll be less than that, though. I think I've heard like host a playoff game or make the
I think it
championship game.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were the Packers, I would not go for the host the playoff game because they could easily be a wild card team and get to the Super Bowl. So I don't think I would do that if I was the Packers.
Right. Now, obviously, Ray, if they made it conditional and the Jets make the Super Bowl, I can't believe we're talking about this. Like other Jets, it's just unbelievable. But if that happens, it's going to be a very, very low pick.
Right.
So from the Packers, and they're going to say to Joe Douglas, Joe, he's going to lead you to a Super Bowl. It's almost like a second round pick. And how do you answer that, Ray?
They might have to throw something else in there with it, which, to me would be if he got us that far. And I know you say we can't, believe we're talking about, but what we're talking about is conditional picks. So obviously those are based on what ifs, not like the fans who are planning on a home playoff game. If when will it be played type of thing. That's always part of it. So I mean the Packers would have a fair complaint there too. So I guess the condition would be we'd have to throw in something else with it.
Ray, Ralph, keeping our GM hats on, and what if Joe Douglas said, we'll make it conditional. Let's say Green Bay says, but we have to swap picks this year, 15 and 13. What would you do, Ralph?
Depending on the conditional, I'd be open to that. I don't think there's a big difference between 13 and 15.
Right. Okay. And Ray, do you think, look, the draft is like in 6 days. I happen to think everyone thinks it might have to happen by day one. I don't think that. I think it might happen right up to day two when it starts. What's your
Yeah,
Ray?
I would definitely.
The only reason it would happen on day one, would have to happen on day one, was if the first rounder was involved. That's the only reason, and it's not gonna. So no, it doesn't have to happen by then. But it should have. If it's gonna happen, it should happen either before the draft or early on in the second day before the second round picks kick in. Because then it really doesn't favor them at all. The Packers, I mean, if they hold out beyond the second round, then everything becomes next year. And I don't think they want to do that for just the reason we said. If he does come,
unless they happen to love one of the players the Jets pick in the second round.
Right.
they could always make him.
Yeah, if it happens to be one of their guys, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys see any scenario where, besides Corey Davis, if they like the player, that the Jets would deal a player? And I'm thinking like something like Queenan Williams, or is just
Quinn Williams
that's out of the question.
out of the question.
Way out of the question.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
now
not giving up him. I mean, name a different player, maybe, but maybe Quincy Williams.
well, Ray, would you do it for Queenan Williams and no draft picks?
No,
Okay, how about
there's
you?
no way I'm giving up our defensive line.
Quinn Williams and no draft picks. Wow, that's
We got two number twos. You love the draft, Ralph.
yeah. And one of I have an idea about the number one pick, but
Okay.
I would say no off the top of my head.
Okay. All right.
Well, you know what? They got to pay him though, so
Yeah.
maybe I would. Maybe I would.
Right. Okay. The whole Rodgers thing, and maybe I was wrong. I kept saying to people that I thought it hurt them signing some free agents, just because I think free agents look for, of course, number one is money. Number two is like a stable coach and organization. Number three is a quarterback. But I seem to be in the minority. I just want to hear your opinions that if you think it hurt them as far as the free agents. Ralph?
Well, I mean, you take Odell Beckham. I think if the Jets had matched, he would have come here. But he got a lot more money than Joe Douglas is ever going to give him at Baltimore. DeAndre Hopkins made it clear he didn't want to come to the Jets. I don't know if that's Rodgers' thing or just the Jets' reputation in general, for being basically the worst team in the league the last 12 years. Tyreek Hill, same thing last year. Fletcher Cox said he was thinking of coming. He was close. I don't know what that means. I wouldn't have come if I was him. Calais Campbell, that one that was strange. I don't know. I think the Jets are a more interesting team than Atlanta. So I don't think Rodgers per se. I just think the lack of stability in general with the Jets and their reputation still is the problem.
Right. How about you, Red? Do you think the Rodgers ordeal hurt the free agent signings at all?
I think it's more like what Ralph said, the Jets' reputation, but I think it also hurt them more on the offensive side, although Campbell surprised me a little. Fletcher Cox, I'm not as surprised. I mean, man, your team just went to the Super Bowl, and wouldn't you rather try and follow up on that and try and go back there? But I think the defensive side, the only thing holding back is that because I think a lot of guys would be excited to play in that defense, but the whole idea that if things go horribly wrong, they're going to break up the band and they're going to be starting over, and it could be a whole mess if it doesn't go well this year. So I think that might slow a few of them down.
Right. Okay. Keeping with this isn't just going to be on Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers. We're going to talk about the draft in a minute, but keeping with this, I don't want to spend a lot of time because we all think it's going to go through. And going back to the last time we were all together, we all didn't want it to go through. If you remember, we were against it. But
well, that was before Carr signed with another team.
That was before that. So But if this deal all of a sudden implodes for whatever reason, and whether it being that Rodgers changes his mind or something else, who do you think is going to be the starter at the Jets quarterback? And I'll just name a few names that actually Ralph named. Was it Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz, or somebody else? Ralph, what do you think?
I'm thinking my guess would be Ryan Tannehill. They got one of their coaches here, and they're thinking of getting the center, Ben Jones. So I don't think Tennessee wants him. So that would be my guess. I don't know.
What do you think they could get him for?
A high pick, a late pick, fourth, fifth round pick, something like that.
Maybe in like 24 too. How about you, Clay?
I don't want anything to do with Lamar Jackson, not because he isn't talented, but I think it just raises a whole nother issue of cost and players and all that stuff we're already going through. I think Tannehill as well. I prefer him over Wentz, that's for sure.
Was Wentz that bad?
He wasn't his first year or so, but
his second year he was an MVP candidate before he broke his leg.
I know that. I know
never been the same. Yeah.
Yeah, but since the injury, I know he hasn't looked the same. But were his stats that bad?
I just feel like a lot of teams have given him another shot, saying I can get him back to where he was, but it's never seemed to happen.
And he's another guy. I'm not sure he can handle New York. I just don't.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a big if with all these guys.
Well, just when he was in Indianapolis, he had 27 TDs, 7 interceptions. He threw for 3,500 yards. He wasn't awful. Was that the year they lost that last game they were supposed to win?
Yep. And he threw, I think, 3 picks against Jacksonville. I think it was.
Okay, all right.
I could be wrong, but yeah.
That was it.
He melted down in the biggest game.
It's kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick's year with the Jets, where he melted down in the.
So that's what did. I remember that he was just awful. And last year, he threw 11 TDs, 9 interceptions, where he started, I guess, 7 games for the Washington Commanders. He ended up going 2-5. So, all right, let's. He's 30 years old. Of course, if they sign him, you'd hear all these things. How he's been with a quarterbacks coach, and he changed this, that, and whatever, and he's back to old self.
Another name I thought of, but he's retired. I don't know if he retired injury wise or what, because he was pretty young. He's only 30. It's Blake Bortles, because his best 2 years as a pro were under Hackett. And I was wondering if do you know if he retired because of injuries or what? Because he's young.
I don't know. I don't. That's a great point, though, too, Ralph. And how old is he?
30. He's only 30. Isn't that amazing?
Very interesting. Yeah. And he wasn't bad that year, though. I'll never forget. He couldn't get that playoff against the Patriots.
No, but Cheetah, to kill these guys just off of one game, I think it can be a mistake. But I don't know if Hackett left and then he went downhill. Who knows? Maybe Hackett was his magic guy. I don't know.
When he was 23, I'm just looking it up now. He threw for 4,428 yards, 35 TDs, 18 interceptions.
He looked like a rising star.
He really did. He really did. It was amazing. The last year he went down 23 TDs, 16, and so on. We're going to get to the draft in a second. I just want to bring up one thing I saw right before we came on the air. To me, it's very bothersome. Not so much the Jets, but it's kind of the age we live in. I just want your guys' opinion. It came over the wire. The NFL suspends Jameson Williams and others for violating gambling.
Jameson Winston, you mean?
Williams.
Williams.
Receiver.
Receiver for the Lions. So Ian Rappaport's reporting Jameson Williams getting suspended for 6 games. Was that the guy from Alabama?
Yep, and Ohio State.
And
oh my gosh!
He's really good. He was hurt 6 games. That's like a little more than a third of the season. Also, Lions safety C.J. Moore suspended. Quintez Cephas suspended, another receiver, and a defensive end from the Commanders, Shaka Tony. Well, I don't know who he is, but the point I want your opinion, we discussed this a little before, is with the receiver from Atlanta who was suspended. Ridley was his name. What was his name?
Calvin Ridley, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't listen to any sports radio in the New York area, go through 5 minutes before you hear a advertisement for FanDuel or Sports Kings. And I'll tell you, if you ever want to see very simple, easy to navigate websites on your phone, you go to these gambling sites. They make it so easy. I think this is just the start of a huge problem that's going to really filter down to the colleges right now. And I just want to know your opinions about that, Ralph.
Well,
But what are they gambling on, these guys? That's what I want to know.
well, that's what I thought. There's a little more info, Marty. The guys, other than Jamison Williams, all got suspended indefinitely, meaning at least a year, because they bet on NFL games.
Oh, geez.
Were they games?
That's why Ridley got suspended.
Were they games that they were in?
I don't know on that. They didn't say that, but they just betting on an NFL game. That's what got Ridley suspended. I don't think he bet on any Falcon games. And then Jamison Williams, he got suspended because he did his betting in an NFL facility. He didn't bet on NFL games though. He bet in and he has to do it from home or he can't be in an NFL facility and bet. So that's what got him suspended.
Right. Let me just understand this. If the Knicks are playing the Cavaliers, he's allowed to bet on that game if he's in his apartment.
Yep.
But if he's at the Lions training facility for OTAs, he can't bet on it.
Any NFL facility, my understanding is, whether it's the Lions or somewhere else that it's an NFL facility, he can't be placing bets of any kind. I don't think.
Right.
From what I understand.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're very good friends. I've known Ralph since we were 8 years old, but I'm under the impression that we're not really big gamblers. If we do anything, it's like recreational. I just want, Ray, your opinion and Ralph's. Where do you think this holds for the future for professional athletes and also college athletes? Do you see a big problem ahead?
I mean, there's always that threat of, throwing games if you're involved. That's why, they don't want them betting on their own sport, and they definitely don't want them betting on their own games, or any game that, could affect them, obviously. So they're just keeping the whole sport out of it. I think the only way to really curb it, I don't know if they'll ever be able to do away with it, is to really, just like with these guys, come down hard on them. You gotta, and just make it something that they really feel. And they only feel one thing, like you said earlier, their number one thing is money. So hit them hard in the wallet, and that'll scare them more than anything. These fines nowadays, with how much they make, he got fined $50,000. Okay, well, he's pulling that out of his wallet and going, "Here you go." So
Ray, what about the college football scene with these kids? If they meet someone at a bar, or let's say the mob plants a good looking woman somewhere around his dorm, do you see this being a problem in college?
I don't know. The college is already a mess because of the NIL and everything they have no control over. So I don't know how, they've got to figure out how to get control on a lot of things in college. But, I think that has been going on anyway. So, they've been doing different things.
Ralph, your opinion?
Well, it's hypocritical in the NFL. I mean, they're promoting that stuff all the time on these game day, Phil Simms and Boomer and doing, I don't know, they do FanDuel or DraftKings. It is hypocritical, but you know what? These guys just don't bet, don't drink and drive, don't carry unlicensed weapons. You got a great career. If you don't want to blow it, then don't do that. It's not that hard not to bet. I mean, but there are guys who are going to do it, and if they get caught, they know what the consequences are. I really don't feel that badly about them getting nailed, but it is hypocritical. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. The draft is in 6 days, and in the past we've gone heavy duty in it, but we're not going to do it like that this year. So I just want you guys' idea, the first 2 rounds, let's assume the Jets are only going to have 1 second-round pick. Could we all agree on that?
Well, we can have fun picking 2 just in case, because
Okay.
Maybe they flip flop and they do the later one. So,
or just the fact that we'll name between them all, we'll name probably the player that they pick. From so anyway, yeah, I have some thoughts on both
Go ahead,
picks.
Ralph.
So as far as I am on the first round pick, you were saying, Marty, what are the Jets going to go for position wise? And I think it's either going to be an offensive tackle or a defensive tackle. I think those, they're Sal and Douglas are into the lines, and I think they have needs there. From what I see, offensive linemen, I would rate the offensive tackles that they might get a shot at. I'd rate Broderick Jones first from what I've seen, Paris Johnson second, and actually, I don't even know if I do Skoronski third, or the kid from Tennessee, Darnell. What's his last name? Right. So I think Broderick Jones, he impressed me the most. Now, as far as the defensive line, if they go that way, I don't think it'll be interior, and I don't think there's a whole lot there. Obviously, Jalen Carter is going to be gone. If he's not gone, he'll be in jail because there's just no way that he'll last. There's not a whole lot that's worthy taking at that point, but there's one guy, Marty and Ray, who I have fallen in love with watching film of this guy.
A defensive lineman?
Defensive lineman. This kid from Pittsburgh,
I know.
Kalijah Cansey, who bears an extremely close resemblance to Aaron Donald in his size and his style and the way, and obviously the team he plays for. Yeah.
Right.
And he doesn't have to be Aaron Donald to be a star. And I think if they got him and put him next to Quinnen Williams, I mean, it would be a jailbreak every down. Yeah, he's undersized. He's 280, and they say, but to me, I think he wouldn't play on running plays. I think every play is a passing down in the NFL now, and I think I would be willing to take. I think John Randall, when I see him, I think the kid is talented, and the only other guy that would be picked there in the interior defense is Brian Brissy from Clemson, and I just think he's solid. I don't think he's anything special. So I would go Broderick Jones or Kalijah Cansey as far as my first pick.
Okay, Ray, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I agree. My first choice would be Jones out of Georgia, but for me, I don't. I want an offensive lineman, no matter whoever they think the best is available. I'm not sure Skoronski will be available. I mean, I've seen different things that have him actually going as far down as the 20s with it, which I think is ridiculous. And Skoronski might end up being better as a guard.
Yeah, he looks like a guard to me too.
Yeah,
when I see him.
So I like Broderick Jones. I would prefer him over Paris Johnson.
That's interesting.
I hear good things about Johnson. I just think that
he's good. I wouldn't mind getting him if we get stuck with him. Yeah,
but I just he's another one of these guys that hasn't got a big resume, and that always makes me wonder. But from everything I've seen and read, he handles. Like the big fear with Becton was quick guys are around him and nothing flat. And Paris Johnson with his length and has really good footwork from everything I've seen and read. So I think he handles the speed rushers better than most at his size. But I still like something about Broderick Jones. There's something about him I like.
Very athletic. Yeah. He really in space looks good.
So that's who I would be hoping for first.
Yeah, I would go either one too. I think Skoronski, from what I've seen, I don't think it's a huge thing, but all the negative people talking about his arm length. I think that's overrated, to be honest.
Which is like 3/4 of an inch shorter than the
right, which is they were talking about like Kenny Pickett's hands,
Yeah.
And I happen to like. To me, it's a flip of the coin, but there's a couple of players we get to the second round I'm going to mention. But Paris Johnson, this guy, not only is he an excellent football player, I've read about this guy speaks like 5 different languages.
Really?
Which is amazing. Yeah. He's a very, very bright guy. And I like
So if we have play a game in Germany, he'll come in handy, huh?
well,
Germany,
yeah,
Japan.
right.
Mexico.
So I would say either one. And now this is interesting because those three, I think it's comparable to the year when they got Becton with the four guys.
Right.
It's not as, I don't think it's as strong, but I think it's interesting. It's fascinating how similar it is. The good news for the Jets is, everybody, as we always say, they get quarterback crazy, where they're going to have like 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, the two defensive players are going to go. You might have, I think, the receiver, Ray from Ohio State. I hear he keeps moving
Jigba.
up. Also, Ralph, the receiver from Boston College, Zay Flowers,
Yeah.
moving up like crazy. So if that happens, one of these guys falls to the Jets, I would be very happy. Let me just start with the second round, because there's a guy, I actually like him almost as good as Jones and Paris Johnson. He's a guard from Florida called Osiris Torrance. I don't understand why they're not talking him up that much in the first round. This guy,
I see him going in the first a lot more.
so do I. I think this guy is underrated. He's nasty, he's good, he's fearless, and he's not going to be like a Mekhi Becton, I think. And there's one other player I want to mention too.
Let me just say, Marty, I think he's going to be gone. I don't think the Jets would have a shot at him in the second round.
Which is unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah.
But when I see him, so I see some of them rank him like 65. I just don't understand. There's another,
Yeah. Go on.
there's another guy like, and again, I'm just naming two players that I could see getting in the second round. I also like a couple of receivers, but I think the center from Arkansas, Ricky Stromberg, is very underrated. I've seen him go in the third or fourth round. This guy has started, I think it's something like 42 or 44 games in his career, and he's a good player. I like these two players. I'm just going to say after the first round. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ralph. That you go.
Well, as far as the centers go, I think at least one or two of Tipman or Michael Schmidt is going to be there. And I like them both. I think they both look terrific.
But does it bother you that Tittman is like 6'5"?
What? Yeah, no, it doesn't. He looks very agile to me. There are some centers who are tall and who are very successful.
Right.
They both look really good. And I think they'll probably pick one of them. The other position I think everyone's thinking about is linebacker for the Jets. And I don't think there might not be a linebacker picked, an interior linebacker picked in the first round. If there is, it might be Simpson from Trenton Simpson from Clemson. But there are some good guys. I love this kid from Arkansas, Drew Sanders. I don't know if he'll be there. It's going to be close. I would love to get him. And Marty, there's another guy who you would love.
Iowa.
Well, Jack Campbell of Iowa, he could be a late first to mid second round pick. I like Sanders better, but here's a guy that you'll love, Marty. His name is Dayan Henley from Washington State.
Washington State, I know him.
Converted wide receiver.
Yes.
This guy he has deep range for a linebacker covering guys. And he's learning the position, and I think he's a very interesting prospect, especially since I know they like linebackers who are sort of almost hybrid.
Right.
So those three guys, I would be happy with any one of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Linebacker.
Let me ask you one thing, Ralph. And then we're gonna get right to Ray, because I hear rumblings that if there's a good tight end, they might go for a tight end. Do you see that happening at all?
I mean, every one of all these Jet fans want a tight end. It's like they invested in that third round pick in him last year, and in Ruckert, he didn't play. We don't know how good he is. He played the last game against Miami. His blocking was terrific. I'm not down on Conklin. I like Conklin. I think with a quarterback who's not scatter armed, I think he could be really effective. Uzama, I think, is just another body. But between Conklin and Ruckert, I'm happy to see how it goes this year, especially with Rodgers.
And Yeboah. I don't hate Yeboah.
Right. That's true. I forgot about Yeboah. Yeah.
Okay. Ray, what are your thoughts on some of the players? Second round.
Yeah. I think Njigba, if he's there, is one of them that if we have 2 second rounders that
And Jigba in the second round, he's never going to be there, Ray.
he's been sliding because he had such a non-year. I don't think he'll be there, but
Is he just a slot guy, or can he play out wide?
I don't think he could be a number 1 outside, but he can be outside. He's a great route runner. He's got good hands. He's athletic. He reminds you a lot of Garrett Wilson in a lot of ways.
They're about the same size.
Very similar. I think I have something here saying.
I don't think he's going to get past the first.
Maybe not. I mean, I don't know.
We don't know.
I'm just saying what I'm reading about guys, and they say late first, second rounder, and I'm like, well, I didn't think Breece Hall would be there, but
that's true. That's true. But running back is just not a.
It's 6 foot 200.
Yeah. A little bit, sounds a little big. He looks a little thicker than Wilson.
Yeah, he seems to be built a little thicker, and he's not as athletic as Wilson, but he is athletic, and he has good hands, and he's really good route runner.
Do you think the Jets need a receiver? I mean, if they keep Corey Davis,
not really.
I don't think
that's why I say if we have 2, the guy I like, the other guy I like that you guys didn't talk about, and he'd be a bit of a stretch, but he's if you see a picture of him, he's built a lot like Sauce Gardner as a safety out of Boise, JL Skinner, and he's like 6'4", but he's a safety. He likes to play the run. He's pretty athletic. He would need some serious coaching though, because they say his coverage skills aren't instinctual, so he's got to be worked with a lot more, but he's one of those guys that can play in the box, can play back. He's long. He's like 6'4",
right.
Decent speed. I like what who was a safety there that played at the end of the year that
Adams.
Yeah, I like Adams, but I don't know if he's really.
I agree. I don't know for sure, but
this guy could be the kind of guy who's a little mix between a Jamal Adams with a little better coverage skills.
I've looked so hard for safeties who are good center fielders. It seems like almost all the safeties now are box guys who love to hit. I mean, we have 2 of those already.
Yeah,
and it's hard to find one of these guys who.
If they could hone his coverage skills, I swear you look at a picture of him, you're like, that has the build of Sauce Gardner.
Ralph,
tall, lean.
I'm sorry, you mentioned that. I was just going to mention 2 defensive players who I just happen to like. And one of them, he didn't do well at the combine. He'll go in the first round, but he's dropping a little bit. You look at the film, this guy from Alabama, Brian Branch, the safety, he's a terrific football player, especially in the open field. He never misses a tackle. And the other player I like, he missed a lot of last year, but he's a Salad Douglas type of player with his leadership. And it's this linebacker edge rusher, Nolan Smith from Georgia. Really explosive. He missed most of last year. Of course, they're not going to take any of these 2 guys, but I just want to mention they're 2 of my favorite players in the draft. Okay.
Yeah, Nolan Smith, he's kind of on the light side. I figure if they still keep Huff, they don't, they just don't need an edge rusher. It looks like they're going to keep Lawson, which I'm very happy about.
They signed Huff this morning. I sent you a
text.
Did
they?
Oh,
I missed that one.
I sent you both a text. Yeah, he signed.
Good.
And they signed
my text.
I'm really happy about that.
Yeah,
and I think Lawson's going to stay in there. I think Lawson came on toward the end of the year. Can't overlook the fact that he's coming off an Achilles. I think he's going to have a good year the next year, a really good year.
Thanks for reading your text, guys. 8:20.
I got the Costello text.
No, the Jets pass rusher Bryce Huff signed his restricted free agent tender, $4.3 million, so he's officially back. That is
restructured.
One of my favorite players. Yeah,
I don't know.
That I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I think they will if they haven't, but
yeah, I think if they restructure, then he's definitely.
It's another thing about the Rodgers thing that holds everything up is how much money they have to work with. They have to figure that out.
Yeah. Listen, do you think, and I mentioned getting back to the team, do you think Salah and Douglas are on the clock right now with Woody Johnson? Ray, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, a bit. I don't think it's I think it, how this season plays out is going to decide that. I mean, if it's another disastrous year and they miss the playoffs because they didn't, because things didn't go well, I think, it won't surprise me if one or both of them are gone. I I can't see blaming Joe Douglas for what's gone on. I mean, his drafts for the most part have been very solid. I mean, I think it would be a
Boy, you
mistake.
get an argument from some Jet fans about
Ah,
that.
yeah, but
Except for the first year, but I still think.
well, the
I
first
could
year
be
was a
wrong.
little
I think
iffy.
that first year, Adam Gase had some of his fingerprints on it because he got Joe Douglas a job. I really believe that. I have no proof.
Well, which draft are you talking about? His first year? Because the first year he took over, that was actually
That was
McCagnon's
McCagnon's
draft.
Yeah,
Then his first year, his first pick was Becton, which has
Yeah.
been
Right.
his second pick was Mims, which has been
That's the draft.
That's a
the
bad,
draft.
but the next year it's the Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore. That's not looking good.
Right.
So he's got to answer for that too. Last year obviously was a home run.
But Ralph, that's fine. But then you have to give him credit for like Bryce Huff.
Look, I like Joe Douglas. I would actually hate to see him get canned. I just feel he knows what he's doing. Some of it is luck, but I would stick with him. As far as
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I agree on Zach, but those are 2020 hindsight misses. Nobody was ripping those picks at the time because they looked like the right pick. And Elijah Moore, I mean, I think Cleveland got a steal on that in a lot of ways. I think he's gonna turn into what we thought he'd be. I think the jury should still be out on Elijah Moore. So I wouldn't say that was a poor pick, but Zach and Becton, those are tough ones to overcome, both your first picks.
Yeah. All right. So listen, we're going to close this out. This has been a great show.
Well, Marty, I want you guys to answer my question.
I was trying to I was trying to close it out.
Yeah, I want to because that's the hardest question I've ever asked. The question is, in the year 2025, which one of these three players has the best shot of being a Jet? Or I should say the least worst shot. Zach Wilson, Mims, or Becton?
Well, you put 2025.
Yeah, because I think next year Wilson might still be there.
I don't know if all of them are going to be there in 2023.
All right, so say 2024 then. 2024.
That's tough. I would say Becton. I hate the guy. I'm just going. I mean, he looks great in the film, so I would just say that. Go ahead, Ray. What do you think?
I think there's only one choice. Not that any of them are great, but I think it's Mims is the only one of. Because back then, until he makes it through a season, I can't believe he's gonna.
I just gotta say, I've been pro Mims for the longest time. Mims stinks. I don't care what I said. The guy stinks.
So are you saying, Marty, that Becton will be there? Or
I don't know. I don't think any of them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I think it's actually going to be Wilson. So we picked all three of them.
He threw his last pass as a Jet.
He has not thrown his last pass. I will bet you on that one through DraftKings.
Somehow he'll end up on the field next year. It's just
there's no question he will.
At some point.
He's done.
Here's one more question for you,
Marty. You guys
Marty.
didn't believe me when I told you Becton's done for the season that year. You both.
Well, the cat came back. He's back. Here's the question about Becton, Marty. If he has a Pro Bowl season this year, do you extend his contract?
I trade him whatever I could get. I don't know. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
Pro Bowl season,
I don't want him.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't trust him. This is a contract year. It's classic. He'll
do great and want top 3 money for a Hey, before we go, we never went through the guys.
All right, Ray. Who are the 4 players from?
I don't know.
4 players from the USC that were top 5 picks for the Jets in their history.
Well, it was what was the
Tucker?
offensive lineman? His name escapes me right now.
The one from the 90s that I can't remember, maybe it was 80s, that was the tackle.
Yeah,
And I can never remember his name. I want to say Randy Thomas, but he ended up on Washington and he wasn't from USC. But I know that.
Oh my God, you guys are missing such obvious ones.
Keyshawn.
Keyshawn.
Vera Tucker.
Who was the next
Tucker,
one?
top 5.
Tucker?
Vera Tucker.
Oh, Elijah Vera Tucker. No, he wasn't. No.
Oh, he was like 11 or 13.
Um,
Who was the tackle, Ralph? They got his name. Yeah.
Marvin Powell.
Marvin Powell.
yeah,
That's the hardest one. You're missing the 2 easiest ones.
Really?
easier than
Yeah.
Keyshawn.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I know who. Sam Darnold
Yeah.
had
You're right, that
to be a
was-
quarterback. And wait a minute, was what's his name? The quarterback before him? Was he the top?
Fifth.
No,
Number
Sanchez was 6th.
Mark
5.
Sanchez?
He was a 5. He's the
I thought
only
he was-
number 5 pick in the history of the team. Yeah.
Wow, I thought he was 6. I
Incredible.
ruled him out
right.
early.
We're gonna close this out. Any thoughts on my question? What NFL head coaches at one time?
Oh my God, that is so tough.
New York. I came up with 3: a New York Jets or New York Titans uniform as a player. Do you want
And
me to
these are NFL head coaches.
head coaches? You want me to name the 3 that I
I
got?
don't know. I almost feel like I want to think about this for a while.
Well, we can't do that to the fans. So
Yeah.
we'll come
Okay.
back to it next time. But I thought
No.
Walt Michaels was one. He
He
played
played for the Jets.
63. They put on a
Okay.
uniform. He was like an assistant
Oh.
coach. Or something.
Oh my God.
That's
That's cheating. All right.
No, he played.
That's nasty.
Frank Reich.
Oh, okay.
Right, Frank Reich. That's a good one.
They're all 1-year wonders. You notice
Yeah.
that?
Kevin O'Connell, the coach.
Oh,
of the
God,
Vikings.
that's right. Yeah.
Did he actually get on the game
Did
for
he
the
get on the
Jets?
field or was he a practice squad guy?
He wore the uniform. That was the question.
Okay.
That's the name.
I wear the uniform. That doesn't.
Okay, I like those too. Yeah, those are good. There must be more. There are probably more.
There's
I don't know
gotta
if
be,
there is.
there's
Yeah.
gotta be some that actually played for the
Did,
Jets.
did Bill Belichick ever play for the Jets? No, I'm
Bill
kidding.
Belichick, I think, played for
He
like
played-
Wesleyan College. He was like,
What, Ralph, quickly, in 15, 20 seconds, what's the word up in New England about Bill Belichick, the direction of the Patriots?
they're not happy. They're not happy at all. You know, he can't stand Mac Jones, and it's amazing how quickly the mighty fall. After you'd figure he'd have the rest of his life, but boy, they turn on you quickly. It's amazing. Although part of it is his fault because if he had gotten along with Brady and sucked it up and kept him another couple of years, he probably would have won another Super Bowl. Yeah.
So, all right, with that, we're going to close it out for Ray Clifford, Ralph Schrager, and Marty Schupak. And Jets Rewind, check out our website. We're going to start to add more stuff and enjoy the draft. And until next time.